Welcome to a new season of Thinking Tackle. I'm Adam Penning and we're back down at Chilham Lake in Kent, one of my favourite venues. We filmed here a couple of years ago with Damien and that's been one of the classic Thinking Tackle programmes. On that occasion we had 15 or 16 fish to over 40 pounds in really bad weather conditions. Time's moved on. There's a quiet, smaller syndicate in place now. The lake's under new ownership. The fish are flourishing. Will the lake be the same? Can it reward us with another bountiful catch like that red letter session? We've turned up, we've got fishing, we're on some fish, we've walked round, found them, and we've got going. Now, I've got a star guest to introduce you to, one of the housewives' favourites, so stand by for that, we'll introduce him in a moment. We'll look at where we're fishing, the tactics we're using, nothing too complicated, bit of particle fishing, some boilie, a bit of spod. Let's see what happens. This is the start of the session, we've got 2 nights, let's go. Okay, I promised you a star guest, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Maslen, delighted to have you on the show, fellow. I mean, you promised us last year you was going to come along and you've made it, despite your busy commitments.
Well, thank you for having me.
Brilliant to have you, mate. And it's nice to have someone who's known to a big audience across the country, but is also a proper, I would term, proper obsessive carp angler.
Yeah, I would define myself as an obsessive carp angler.
Yeah, well,
sure.
you're an obsessive person anyway.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it.
So, well, tell us a bit how that fits into your life, because you know you've got a busy job, you've got a family, you're a mad keen angler. How does that work?
Well, I think it works like it does for most people that have those 3 attributes. You know, that work, that got families, and go fishing. It's you just fit it in when you can, when. My job is full on, and I get phases where I can't go fishing. Right. But I still do. I get nights. You know, I can get a night because I'll go close to work. I have a lake where I can just. It's 5 minutes, so I can pack up at 6 and be at work. And
but you wouldn't fish all night if you was filming EastEnders the next day.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Of course, yeah.
Bit of makeup.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you not?
Right. That's keen. That's really impressive, mate.
You've got to be. Yeah.
Most people couldn't imagine when they see you doing that you've just come from the lake. But so how does that work with your gear and everything? And all you...
Yeah, I've got a tackle shop that is my changing room. It's no longer a changing room, it stores all my gear. Really? Yeah, my wife doesn't like the gear at home because it smells, you know, that's what she says. It doesn't because I dry it all out, but no, it's...
So you're changing your area, so every actor's got their own room and yours is full of fishing gear?
Yeah, I took out everything that was in there and I put all the fishing gear in there. So I've got my bed chairs in there, that's where I sleep. Really? Yeah, it's home from home. I'm bivvy bound even at work.
That is fantastic, brilliant. So as soon as you see a gap in your scheduling or something, you're off, you grab the rods.
Yeah, I can get days where I get a couple of scenes off, and because I can go floater fishing, you know, for a couple of hours. So I can take a bit of lunch, go and sit. It's the best place to go. Why would I want to sit inside when I can go and sit on a lake?
Absolutely, yeah.
I love it.
You do burn bright for it, and you mentioned, you know, you've got your family. So you've got a son.
Little boy Zach, yeah.
How old's he?
He's 11.
Right, fishing.
He's been fishing since about 4.
Right, under Dad's guidance.
Under Dad's guidance. Nice. You are coming whether you like it or not. But no, he's got the bug now.
He caught one the other day, quite a nice one, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a 20-pound mirror off the top.
Off the top?
Yeah,
like
it was fun. Yeah, it was good fun to watch.
Excellent.
And he just beaming with it, and that's what I love about it. And we have that. We still got that within us. It's just you know we've moved forward into a more obsessive form of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know you fished here before in the past. It's a lake that we're both quite fond of down at Chilham.
Beautiful, beautiful lake.
We fished a few events here, haven't we, which have been quite productive, and it's nice to come somewhere where we've caught fish before, we've got a bit of a feel for it. We found some fish, didn't we? We've moved on them, and we've got a variety of different tactics that we're going to put at our disposal and see if we can
the full armoury.
Bag some of these.
Yeah.
Before we get and look at the actual tactics, and one of the things I'm really excited about is that I'm going fishing with a man who's on a roll at the moment. You're dangerous at the moment. You've had a good year, haven't you?
I've had a very good year. Yeah, It's all come good this year.
How many 30s you had? I know you've had a lot. You're into double figures just for this year.
Yeah, about 15 I think I've had. Yeah,
that
up to 39.3, and I've had a few personal bests this year. So
right, so it's keep notching it up.
Yeah,
but not quite done the 40.
Not quite done the 40, so I'm knocking on the door. And
there's a 2 or 3 fish in here that could beat that, and if you caught that for the show,
that'd be amazing.
Well, here's to it, mate. Good luck.
No pressure then.
And the #1 aspect for all types of carp fishing, and we say it time and time again, is location. If you don't find the fish, if you're not on the fish, you're not going to catch them, no matter how you're fishing. No matter how good your rig is or your bait, you've got to be bang on the fish. Scott and I arrived yesterday afternoon. We had a good look around, did 2 laps of the lake on foot in pouring rain, full waterproofs, and we did that so that we could find out exactly where the fish are showing. We've pinned them down. They're in an area between here, which is peg 5, and where Scott is fishing, which we'll show you in a moment, which is up in Peg 9, which is left-hand side of Bailiff's Island. You might remember that swim from one of the previous shows. We'll look at that in a minute. But the fish are between us. They're about 50 or 60 yards out across, and they've been showing in big numbers. You know, yesterday we saw about 15 fish. We didn't hang our hat on it. We still did a lap even after we saw some fish. We put a bucket in the swim, then we come back and we've sat up. So what we've tried to do is keep the fish between us and fish on either side of where they're showing. So we haven't gone in bang on top of them. I'm fishing on the left-hand edge of them and Scott's on the right-hand edge of them. My swim's got about 4 to 5.5 feet of water. Quite a lot of new weed growth, but nothing serious. It's coming up about 18 inches off the bottom. Nice, fresh, lush weed. And then sporadic patches of silt and occasional bits of gravel. But what I have found, about halfway across, 52, 55 yards, I've walked it out, is a silty channel. It drops down to 6 foot there, which is important. The swans on here are a bit of a problem in shallow spots. There's a lot of them. So the 6 foot is welcome. There's a train line opposite, which is occasionally a bit noisy, but just behind the train line, I've got a good skyline marker, nice pointy tree, which I'm using to line up with the spot. And I've got all 3 rods on that. As I say, it's 6 foot, smooth silt, all 3 rods on it, and I'm spodding to the spot. I'll show you my mix later and the rigs. In the meantime, let's go and see Scott, look at how he's fishing his spot. Just nearly got my head there, mate. That was really close. First live accident on thinking tackle.
I love you, Adam.
I could have sued you, couldn't I? What's going on there, fella? I've seen you've been working your swim hard this morning.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've pushed them out in a way because we have been putting a bit of bait in, but we've only been putting bait in because we've seen a lot of fish.
Yeah, there was a lot in the area. We found them, didn't we?
Yeah.
So I'm on one end of them and you're on.
Exactly. We've covered you know, a big group. I mean, we must have seen 20 fish before we decided to stop.
Yeah, definitely.
We still went and walked the whole lake.
Yeah, which is worthwhile, isn't it? Because you might see 40 somewhere else, mightn't you?
Well, yeah, exactly. But you know, it was definitely on the cards.
So it really, I mean, yesterday from what we saw in here, they were they weren't that far, but have you found your rods out, or what's
exactly,
going on?
Exactly. I mean, I've basically gone about maximum 90 yards to about 40 yards, and I've just found my rods across that area where we saw them. Yeah. Because they were active, and all night they were jumping, and you know, I had the occurrence in the night. So
what happened there?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Don't really want to talk about it.
A lost fish then?
Yeah, no, and it was a take, but and I felt the fish, but as I
bumped out.
Yeah, it just bumped off.
Bad luck.
One of them things. I had a pike.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I've had an 11-pound pike and a roach.
Really?
On a double bottom bait.
No, this ain't the Drennan Cup, mate. This is thinking tackle.
Well, I like to see, I like to vary it. You know, right.
So you've got 4 different spots. Every rod's on a different spot out there.
Yeah.
What's the thinking?
Well, variation. You know, they might be in the shallower water. They might be in that deeper water. I mean, I'm fishing 2 on gravel, very hard gravel. I mean, just like we got in the sides here. It's literally dink all the way through. One of them had silt on one side of it and a bit of Canadian pond on the other. Nice. And it was just a little deeper area.
A little depression, that's lovely. Yeah,
so,
I like that
you know, that was nice. And I'm fishing one in the silt that popped up, so, you know, I'm just spraying boilie over that one. Right. The other one's the bottom baits, I'm fishing a bit of a mix over.
Okay,
you know,
well, we definitely want to have a look at that later and see exactly what you're doing with your baiting strategy. Do you think there's still fish about? Or they pushed away a bit, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, when we got here yesterday, we literally didn't. We walked in the swim and
they said hello.
They just said hello straight away. So it was one of those, and it was so close. So yeah, no, they've pushed back. I think putting out bait, using the spoms and stuff and the spods, they do obviously go away a little bit.
They back 20 yards or so, haven't they?
Well, I think they'll come back in. I don't think they've gone away. I mean, they're just over.
They're still in this
side.
section of the lake, aren't they?
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe that's shallower over there as well. You know, maybe tonight's going to get a bit colder.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll get revenge for that loss.
Yeah,
we're going to nip back to my swim, have a look at me rigs that I'm using for this, and I'll see you in a little bit, all right, mate?
Nice one.
Nice one. Nice, simple, straightforward anti-tangle presentation I'm using on this trip. I've got a length of tungsten tubing just behind the lead there. Very, very heavy. That sinks and nails itself to the bottom really well. I've added a lump of putty onto the end as well, just to make that really stay down. And I've got a fluorocarbon main line coming into the end of that. So the emphasis, as usual, is to get everything down low in the water and tight to the bottom. So I threaded the main line through that tubing and then that terminates in a leg clip of the style that's got the swivel moulded into the body, which means that the lead comes off very, very easily indeed. The swivel can't pull out of the housing, and that's the key really. You can use a pin system or the peg system, which is quite popular, but I like this one that has everything moulded in together as one piece. So if we just slide this back down here and pop that on the end, as usual, always wet it down before you put that tail rubber on. On the arm of the clip, I've got a 2.5 ounce dumpy pear style lead. This type of lead, you know, for the range I'm fishing, I'm only out about 50 yards, so it enables me to get a good touchdown on the bottom, good contact, so you can feel for the donk. In front of that, anti-tangle sleeve. I've not really got that on for anti-tangle purposes. It's more to make sure that the balanced hook bait booms out away from the lead and doesn't land behind on the tubing or anything like that. It's going to land straight out in front, because I've got a semi-stiff end trap hook link there, which is a coated braid, and that will throw itself out with a balanced bait. The hook there I've got is a size 8 mixer style hook, which is a light wire gauge hook. As I said, there's not much weed out there in front. It's got a wide gape, it's fantastic for this kind of particle fishing. I've got a sliver of silicone tube just trapping the hair on the bend, and then on the hair itself I've got 2 maple peas and a sliver of cork. The hook bait really is just the same exactly as what they're feeding on, what I hope they're going to feed on. I'm not drawing any attention to it. It's not brightly coloured, it's not over flavoured, it's not popped up. It's just part of the feeding mass baiting that's out there, so hopefully that will get picked up confidently. That's the rig that I've got out on all 3 rods. Let's see if it will catch me a carp. Been doing quite a lot of spodding over the last few months, and with the trend of boilie fishing that's been going for the last few years now, things always run full circle, and I'm keen to keep ahead of the crowd. That always pays off, so I've been back on the spod. It's been paying off well, and that's my approach for this session. And I've been using this spod to get out to the area sort of very tightly. I've got 3 rods, as I said earlier, tight on the spot, and I'm spodding a mix of forgotten baits, which are hemp, which isn't really forgotten, but you can see the bulk of the mix here is the good old maple pea. It's hardly used at all these days. In fact, most of the main particle suppliers don't even stock it. It's so the demand for it is so low. But I've got hold of some. You just soak them for 24 hours and then bring them to the boil, and you want them so that they're just a bit mushy like that when you squeeze them. They're a lovely dark, natural looking bait. As you can see from the whole mix, there's nothing bright in there. There's no corn, there's no pellet or boilie, so you end up with a nice, dark, subtle mix on the bottom. So I'm using a big spod to get that out there, filling it 3/4 full, and then I'm plugging it with a ground bait mix. And what that does serves 2 purposes. Firstly, it stops spod spill, largely prevents spod spill, and secondly, it gives you a lovely cloud immediately in the area of the swim. You know, you're going to get a cloud through mid-water, some particles are going to drop down. It's quite a coarse ground bait, and I've used the particle liquid to knock the ground bait up, so it's very oily, rich, and as I said, it serves those 2 purposes. So I'm going to get this out there. I've put out about 15 spods, all tight on the money, tight on the tree, and I've got all 3 lines running on that. Simple, straightforward particle fishing. This is my new toy, Go Gadget telescopic ladder. Only costs 60 quid. Carry it in a bag on your shoulder around the lake and it gives you elevation like this. We found a load of fish around this side. It's looking really good. We've moved round. Scott's just in the corner swim next to me. There's fish in the bay in front of him and there's fish in front of me here. We're pretty much opposite where we're fishing, but the fish are pushed over this way. They're looking a little bit spawny. They're up on the surface in the top layers. I've got a couple of zigs out and one on a little hump with a small PVA bag. Scott's firing out some floaters next door. There's fish about, we're right on them. We're fishing just for a bite with a bit of foam and a tiny bag and a floater. Let's see if we can bag one.
Got Adam to my right. He's covering the right to swim where there's loads of fish around the corner as well. So they seem to be all shoaled up in this little bay here, so we're hoping to get one off the top or maybe stalk one out the side. So I haven't got the Inspector Gadget ladder that Adam's got next door. I've got to use my my Inspector Gadget legs. And there's no trees to climb here, so when I was round the side, I looked up from the chair of Adam's, and we can see them all down there. There's loads of little gravel bars, and you know, they're hitting the floors and sending mud up. So it's looking good. It's looking real good. I think what I'm going to do now is get something ready for stalking and just put a little bottom bait out as well. So I've covered the top and the bottom. It's only shallow here, so. And the other thing is maybe a zig in mid-water, and then we got it all covered. You all right, Ads?
No, mate. Are you? What's going on?
No, it's depressing.
I've tried everything, have you?
Yeah, I have done everything. Bottom bait, zigs, surface, everything. I don't know, I mean...
I've tried different height zigs, bottom baits. Seen you putting floaters coming across, and they're just... I don't know, I've seen them flanking and clouding up a bit. I've had black foam out there, bits of yellow foam, different depths, a little white bits of foam.
Do you think they're getting jiggy again?
I thought they were looking a bit like that, but then... But that now, looking at them, you can see they're just sort of moving quite slowly, and so I don't know. They've certainly mugged us off. I know. So I think, I don't know if you, I mean, you're fishing almost to the back of where they are.
Yeah, I'm probably going to come, maybe try and come a bit further. Maybe just fish some singles, like just you know, cast right over, pop up.
Okay.
Because and carry on that line that I'm on, because we put a lot of bait out, and I'm going to in that I trust. Because we've only done
you've
only
done
one
night.
night.
You've had a bite already.
And we had a bite. And
so
we know fish there, and they're still here, so they're located.
Yeah.
Not too far away from where they were yesterday.
So this side is shallower, and when you go like 10 yards beyond where those tufties are, it starts to drop down a bit.
Exactly.
So
at night time, they'll probably...
You know, I'm on the other side. You know, the fish are along this bank in front of us. So I think we're both still on. They're pretty much where they were to begin with. They've just come over this way a bit. Weather's the same tomorrow, so I think we're going to be back round here trying to nick a bite.
Yeah.
But
we'll have to come up with an early plan.
In the meantime, I'm going to wind these in. We need to get some food, because you're nearly in a diabetic coma, aren't you? Oh, I need something.
No, it's just that trying everything, isn't it? You know, it's not for want of trying.
Yeah.
The night is young. Right, I'm going to take you through my simple mix that's going to catch me loads of carp. Nothing too complex. I've got some pellet, mixed pellet, that I'll put some oil into, soaked it. It's been soaking for about a week, this stuff. Keep adding oil to that, make it lovely and an oily bag mix just to thicken it up. And some fish meal boilie. Lovely, smelly, high nutritional food content. And just some pop-ups. So, as with all mixes, I always start up with some hemp. This is the chili hemp. Just gives a bit of variation. Stick some of that in there. I've got a mixed particle as well, just to keep the fish rooting about, because there's loads of wildlife, bird life on there, and I'm sure they're getting the boilies. So by putting loads of this in, a couple of handfuls of that, hoping to keep the fish in the swim. So, just mix that up a bit. Look at that, so many little bits. Different breakdowns and different leakages and all the rest of it. It's kind of like soup. Right. What I do, usually use the crusher, but I don't have my crusher with me, so just break up, you know, a few handfuls of boilies. Nothing big about them. Drop a few in there as well. You know, just break them all up. I like to put both the different baits in, the fish and the strawberry, just to show, you know, different bits. Pick up. All right. So that. A little bit of the syrup, a bit more flavour, a bit more attraction, and just a little bit of the crumb just to sort of bind it all up. And mix all that up again. Just turn it over, look at that. Absolutely lovely. There we go. Look at that. It's going to keep them there for a while, hopefully. Send up constant little clouds because there's so much of that the powder in there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill up spod. About 3, usually about 3 of these. That'll be good for the spod. Push it down. Don't worry about getting your fingers dirty. That's all part of it. And there you have it. A lovely, stinking plate of food for any carp. Bang on.
Good morning, it's the start of day 2 and we really wanted to open this day with a carp to show you guys, but despite our best efforts, it's not happening, is it?
No, it's a challenge. Yeah, we're being challenged at the moment.
To the limit of our abilities, it would seem. Obviously what we've tried hasn't worked. We started off on fish, didn't we?
There was so many fish.
Location seemed to be right, but I think we've got to admit we fished it wrong.
Yeah, I think we got a bit ahead of ourselves because we saw a lot of fish. I think we just thought, get some bait in there, keep them here, and I think that pushed them out. Yeah. And I did in my head, I was saying I'm only going to fish, you know, on one rod, one bite, and I should have just stayed to that. But seeing so many fish did trigger off that reaction, like just get some bait out there. And you know, we've got 4 days, and I thought that maybe that'd keep them, but. You know, we're 2 days in, we've made a mistake. We just got to kind of rectify the mistake.
That's the key to good angling, isn't it? It's reassessing, looking at what you've done wrong, and sometimes admitting your own mistakes.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
We don't always go fishing and catch fish, do we?
No, we don't.
So the key thing is we're going to try and get on the fish a bit more because they've backed off us. So
get mobile now and go and find them.
Go and find them, and then probably fish just with single bite tactics.
The complete opposite of what we've done.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's all good. It's part of it. Like you said, it's catching. It's catching the fish. It's finding them, and you know, at the moment there's a lot of them, but they're lining up together, and it's almost like they're spawning again. You know, we only
had a go. Yeah.
They had a little go when we had that hot April, but it then went cold again and a lot of water. So, you know, we might be fighting that as well, but.
I had a go last night because this morning when I got up and looked, there was a load of like ripped up reed stems and weed coming through, so they've been having a go sometime during the night.
I've heard some smashing around in the margins as well.
Right, well that isn't helping our cause. Not that we're making excuses.
No, not that we're making any excuses.
So we're going to catch them. So we're going to don these.
Yeah, we need them.
The vital weapon, Polaroids, and we'll go off and try and find them.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So we've had a little move up to the other end of the lake where we've located a good head of fish. Just been up a tree, we look down and we see some absolute lumps.
Yeah, so a lot of them, maybe 15 fish as well, so.
Yeah, so we're going to get back to the car, get the rods and get them out there.
Right, we've got one of Scott's rods in position. It is right where the fish are feeding. There's a lot of good fish coming in and out and they're smoking up, and I reckon it looks good for a bite. You're going to put, this one's different, so you've got
a little pop-up out there.
Okay.
Concrete one, actually, hinge stiff.
Okay, yeah, lovely.
With a little pop-up, and this one is just basically a bag, solid bag, with drop-off lead and a kind of snowman, little crumb snowman, you know, like little chops.
Whittle down one,
whittle
all right.
down, so.
I'll get back up the tree and I'll throw a pop-up where to cast, all right?
Nice one.
Good luck, fella. Right, mate, they've just come in through. They're right in front. Hang on, just wait a second, because they're just moving through. They're moving off to the right. Right, see that bit of stick on the surface?
Yeah.
Right, just 2 foot left of that, you'll be bang on.
Right.
Oh yes. That could not have been better, Mr. Maslin.
Excellent.
You've got 2 on the dance floor now. Excellent, good luck.
Cheers, mate.
Well, as you've just seen, we've got into position and we've spotted for each other, managed to find these fish, get the baits right on them. And this one, on the solid bag, has just absolutely ripped off. We've been up the tree watching them, and this fish is kiting hard right. A lot of good fish in the area. Scott and I really felt it was a matter of time. And this was just lying on the ground. Scott's bait was next to it, and it's just melted off. So I'm going to give Scott a shout. I'm sure he's heard that I'm in and we'll get a net. Scotty boy!
Yes, mate.
Oh, here he is.
What a sound. Right, how do you want to work
Top
this?
man.
Shall I bring this other one in?
Yeah, I reckon. He's right under here now. You
You
might be able to net him over the irises.
Yep.
There he is. It's common. Yeah, he's in.
Get in there!
Yes!
Yes, well done, mate.
That was hard work and persistence.
Well done. And we didn't disturb the other one either.
Well, there you go. That's the result of teamwork and hard graft, wasn't it, mate? We've been right round the lake. We've been up loads of trees and used the ladder, and eventually we found them, didn't we?
Elevation was the key.
It was, as it often is, and this little fella's still a bit lively. And this was the result. 19, maybe 20 pound common. Lovely, immaculate fish. We spotted for each other, getting the baits in position, which is something you guys can use in your own fishing. You can't always see everything from ground level. You've got a mate who can spot for you and maybe throw a pop-up or something where you've got a cast, which is what we did. It's worth its weight. So we still got rods out. We'll see if we can get another one, shall we?
Yeah, that one wants to get back.
We'll put this fella back and then maybe we'll set up in this area for the night.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Idea, yeah.
Delighted with this.
The rig I'm going to be using, semi-fixed inline lead, a tiny little hook link, small hook and balanced out bait. Right, now for the hardware. Using solid bag, I like to use a small one which just fits the lead and the hook link perfect, so it's all nice and tight and tidy. I like to put the hook in first. I drop my lead in there so I can actually work it. And I nick the bag with the hook so that I keep the hook in position away from the hair. There you go. It just keeps it all tidy so I can work easily. Fingers in. And just start adding your mix. Now the mix is made up of salmon krill crumb and a bag mix that I've just added oil to, and the oil obviously creates a leakage over time, keeps attraction in the water column, and there's nothing in there too big apart from your hook bait, so that's the methodology anyway. Good couple of mouthfuls of food for a big carp. Yeah, just push it down, get it nice and solid, fill it up. Keep doing the same thing, just using the lead to push down the bait, compact it all down. What you want to do is you want to leave enough so that you can, I'll show you in a minute, I like to use the solid tape. Some people like to lick and stick them on. I'm not great with that. So I push that down, nice and tight. And there you have it, so I'll leave about that much. Enough so that I can pinch it. Now I pinch and twist, just making sure that it pushes it down, compacting it all. See, already it's a nice little size. So yeah, what I like to do is is keep squeezing it down to get the air out of it, keep it compact and tight. Take that extra bit of time with it, because number one, you get, you know, a more compact thing to cast with, which aids casting, and that's the reason I take time with it. It's just so that if I'm going to cast over 80 yards or 90 yards, you want something that's going to aid you, not hinder you in the process. So finally add the tape just to secure it all in place. 3 turns down with that one. And I like to go twice round there with that one. And then just basically tie it off. Simple overhand knot. Once. Twice. I mean, this is OCD behaviour, but I still like to trim off excess, I do personally. And there you have it. Not finished, because what I like to do, again, is just get, you know, baiting needle or something with no barb on it, so that you can just perforate the bag. It just aids with the sinking of it and breaks it down quicker, I think. And then pinch the edges, push down, little lick, turn over, lick, turn over. And there you have it, a nice morsel for any big carp, and hopefully this one's going to catch us one.
Well, it looks like the fish have gone. One bite, they've moved on somewhere, so we've got to do the same, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so we'll get this paraphernalia together and
Go and find them, get ready for the night.
yeah, it's looking that way.
Yeah.
All right, cool, let's get out of here.
All right, mate.
Good morning, it's the last day. The weather's changed a lot now. We've got strong southwesterly, weather fronts come across us. We had rain all night, and as you can see from my attire, it's not exactly warm, far from flaming June. But we turned it around in some fair style last night. Just after you left us, we got settled into the swims on the opposite side from where we caught the fish yesterday. We had a hunch they would have just backed off into this area of open water, which was accessible by a couple of swims on an area called Shooters. So we've come around the other side of the lake, we set up. Well, actually we didn't set up, we wanted to get some rods out first, so that was the first port of call. I got 2 rods cast out to where I thought the fish might have backed off to. Solid bags tied exactly how Scott showed earlier in the show. And got 2 rods out there and then set about sorting out the third, and I had a little bleep on one of the rods and lent into a very surprised quick fish. I mean, the rod had only been out there maybe 10 minutes maximum. Fish kited on a long line, gave a real good account of itself. As it's going, incredibly, the other rod that I'd put out went as well. So I shouted to Scott, he came and dealt with that fish for me. And two fish in the net, you know, we fished hard for 3 days in the wrong area, and then as soon as we get on them and we fish the right tactic, it came together. The first fish was a 25-pound common, lovely long dark fish, really pleased with that, proper old character. And the second one, well, it really blew me away, because to catch a fish that big for the TV show is quite a rarity. It was 34.4, big grey chunk of mirror carp. So kind of turned it around. Unfortunately, the camera guys had left, so we didn't get it on film, but we took some stills for you guys to see. Just blown away really to catch a fish of that size for the show. So then we got fishing for the night. We got all the rods sorted, put the bivvies up, put the mosquito screen up because it was absolutely savage. Scott did a wonderful stir fry. Then it started raining. We bedded down for the night, and I got a good night's sleep. Not really anything happened at all. Scott, on the other hand, has been absolutely savaged by tench. It's been Tinker Armageddon round there for him, so he's still having a little doze now at the moment. We'll wake him up in a little while, but it's been no carp for him, so I'm feeling for the big man, because you know, it's always a precious situation to catch fish for the cameras, and I know he really wants one, so I'm hoping and praying that he'll pull it out the bag. There's nothing wrong with how he's fishing, he's angling really well, it just hasn't happened yet. It's the last day today. Let's hope and pray we can get one for him. Okay, the spot that we put bait on just a little while ago looks to have some activity on it. I've come in and had a look, can't see any actual fish, the light's terrible, the wind's pumping into this little corner, but there are bubbles coming up in isolated little patches, not like gas, looks like there's fish moving around on the bottom. So I've dashed back, got a rod made up, I'm going to lower in a small solid bag, because there's a lot of debris and twigs and so on, I don't know what's down there. I'm going to put this in position, hopefully the fish are feeding, let's see what happens. It's a tight spot, could have done with my 6-foot rod really, but we'll manage with this. I've just lowered the bag in. The nice thing about that sort of presentation, you can lower it anywhere in murky water where you can't see what the bottom's like, you know you're going to get good presentation. Goes in dead quiet, just off the rod tip, lowered it down, it's about 3 foot deep. I'm going to slacken this line off, lower the rod down, open the clutch, and we'll see what happens. Well, the weather's been a bit inclement. We've had heavy rain coming through sporadically. It's just clearing a little bit now, so I'm going to take advantage. I hate being sat bivvy bound. Just want to make things happen and make opportunities happen if I can. So I'm going to go and have a look along the margins, bait a few spots, and then we'll come back a bit later and see if anything's happening. Got my trusty weapon, the extending spoon here, which is brilliant for accurately putting bait under branches and putting it in nice and quietly as well. And the bait mix is the same as I was using before, which is the nicely fermenting now maple pea and hemp mixture. So we're going to put a bit of that in this swim, and there's another hole a bit further down, and we'll see if any fish come in later. Right, the spot that I failed on earlier to get a bite from, the fish are back in and I can see tails waving. The machine, the boy, he's going in, he's got a rig primed and ready. If anyone can catch him, he can. So we're going to creep in there, do the business this time, make us proud. See you in a minute. See where that bubble's just come up? 6 inches to the right of where that bubble burst. That's the bait, that's where the bait is. And that's where I saw his tail. Oh, I can see his tail now, I can see a bit of movement, he's down there now. Probably going to try and get under them branches. If it does, get the whole top half of the rod under, so line back, because some of them branches go down deep.
Yeah. Well, just keep it tight.
Yeah.
Don't let him go in, don't let him go in.
Don't let him go under there.
So here we are, stage 2, spot 2. Got my ghillie, bringing my gear, as every good angler should have.
Most people couldn't afford one, but you can.
Yeah, weather conditions aren't what we would have thought would have been ideal for stalking, but they're in the edge, right on the bottom of the shelf here, on a gravel bottom. That's been getting them going with some particles, so we're just going to go in there now and we're going to hopefully pull one out.
Up close and personal, 6-foot rod this is, so stealth modes and everything. Wish us luck. I'll leave all this here for now.
So literally onto that.
It's going to be very hard to get a rig down there without a thump to the bottom, but just look, that's where all the bait's gone, right there.
That's where we want this.
So that's sort of falling to the bottom. We've got the rig in position perfectly. Scott just lowered it down on the spot. Poured in a tiny little bit of soupy mix of cloud, just to give the area a bit of camouflage, if you like, so we could get the rig in. Fish haven't seemed to have noticed.
Seen some big black tails, big black shapes moving left and right. It's a much better spot than the other one because it's a harder bottom. We can see the fish clearly, so we know they're here 100%. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Let's make something happen.
Oh, that must have been close. Yeah, you're in. No? Yes, you're in. Right, we'll get him in the net quick. Oh! Keep him up, Scotty boy. We'll get him in. Oh! 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 Now that is quick hit stalking.
Well, saved the blank, which was playing on my mind slightly. We've probably caught the biggest carp in the lake.
Mate, he's probably one of the hardest to catch. He's just an immaculate little crafty one, isn't he?
That's why he's on the top of my wish list, this one.
Well, you said you was going to target him, didn't you? The little golden comet when we came. So
fights very, very above his weight.
You can cross him off your list.
Exactly. But no, lovely, beautiful.
Well
They're
done.
all beautiful.
Perseverance counted there, mate. Well angled.
Absolutely.
Really good.
Nice
Brilliant.
one, mate.
Well, we're at the end of the session now. A session that we've both enjoyed a lot, but it's been a grueler, hasn't it?
Yeah. But
how many swims have we fished?
We've moved around the lake.
We have, yeah.
We have moved, but that's the good thing. I mean, listen, fishing, as we know, isn't always about catching. It's about application and not sitting in one spot if you're not on the fish, and we've done all that. We've moved and we found them. We've had some fish, so, you know, mission accomplished.
Definitely, yeah.
Teamwork, it was all
absolutely.
good.
It's all been a result of teamwork, and you know, we've moved around. We fished loads of different spots. We fished different methods, and then eventually we found something that worked. I think one of the key things that I sort of reiterated to myself was that if you put in a load of bait like I did while I spotted up an area, which a lot of people do, you know, on their sessions every weekend, probably they spot up an area. Once you've done that, if you figure out it's wrong, don't be afraid to leave. Don't wait for the payout. Don't think, oh, I've put all that bait in, I'm going to have to stay here. Get on your toes and move. And that's something that has been banged home to me yet again.
Yeah, the old adage of don't put in too much as well. That's one of those.
Yeah.
Even though we saw those fish,
we fished aggressively, didn't we?
We did think they were all there, so let's get it in and keep them here. But
they're wise, cute fish, and we should have.
Yeah, we made a bit of noise probably, and we moved them out. But you know, we learned from that, and we moved on, and we got more stealthy.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I've learned from this again, is going in for a bite at a time, and even when you do find them, if you've had a few bites off of a couple of bags, then you know there are a good group of fish in there, and then you can afford to be a bit more
definitely
giving with the bait.
Yeah, and now, you know, the weather's kicked up again now, and I think that when it's a bit more turbulent like this, you can get away with a bit more activity, maybe a couple of spods and what have you. And I mean, when you think we fish zigs, floaters, solid bags, spotted areas, spread baiting with boilies,
leg clips, pop-ups,
Yeah.
Combi links.
And we tried on fish. That's been a priority, hasn't it? Been getting on them and finding them, which has been hard, but we've done it. You know, we've managed it. So
well, that's the key, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, definitely.
If you can find the fish, then at least you know you've got half a chance.
Exactly. You know, and that's for you guys watching the program. You know, that's the most important thing. We can't stress enough to put into your own fishing. If the fish aren't in front of you, you will not catch them. You know, and the move that Scott and I made yesterday resulted in 3 quick bites, and that was after spending 48 hours without anything, you know, so...
And it adds excitement as well, because when you get stale, when it all does slow up, and you do start sitting there and start to get down on yourself, it's really key to get a move. Number one, to get away from your swim, and number two, when you do see fish, you get so excited by it that it gives you that second wind.
Kickstart your session again.
And then you're off again on the next phase.
Exactly,
so,
yeah, absolutely.
Really
well, thanks very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. It's been varied, it's been hard. There's been, you know, a couple of fish. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope to see you again on a show in the future.